LifeFight with Jermaine Andre is a positive production of RareGem Productions. For previous episodes or to get new episode updates, subscribe to the LifeFight channel hosted on the Inspiration Network of OneRareGem.com. That's OneRaregem.com for the tools you need to take on your life fight. With U.S. Martial Arts Hall of Famer, two-time world champion, five-time U.S. champion, UFC vet, life coach, and author, Jermaine Andre. Visit JermaineAndre.com.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? Jermaine Andre's Life Fight. I'm here with my co-host, Rebecca Beck.
Hello, everyone.
And today we're going to cover a couple things. One of the things we're going to go over first is we're going to go over my new mixed martial art Muay Thai sprawl and that I instructed my academy and the way that it was constructed, so everyone can understand, how a martial art is supposed to work for you. But we're also going to go through, we always, since Rebecca dug my book Dealing Effectively with Idiots out, we like to read something through that we allow people to vote on it. You can go to my Facebook page and, pick the chapter that you want us to read from. And this one, the one that was chosen, fits in perfectly with the topic. I know we promised a while ago that I was going to teach you how to employ your haters. Now, you know that our purpose is always to teach you, awareness, preparedness, and self-defense. That's my main objective, because I think that's mainly what our life is about. No matter how much we're progressing through life, we have to know how to protect ourselves, in every area, in all areas of life, self-defense, financially, just anything. So anything that deals with any kind of protection, that's what I like to cover. And a hater can bring you down. They can destroy your life, because that's their goal, and they can be very committed. So I'm definitely going to teach everyone of not only how to keep the haters from bringing you down, but how you can employ them and put them to work for you. So that's the things we're going to cover today. So starting off, we're going to let Rebecca read from the Dealing Effectively with Idiots, because the one that was chosen was the Muay Thai, the haters. The haters. Well, I mean, if Muay Thai sprawl is first, we can go with that.
Well, you were going to talk about what happened in training.
Okay. What happened?
Oh, no. You were going to talk about the creation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The creation's on you.
Well, okay, so we talking about what, Muay Thai sprawl first?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll save this one for a second.
Oh, okay. Well, Muay Thai sprawl is a mixed martial art that I created. And I always tell everyone that the thing that you have to know about, like you'll say, okay, I take this martial art, I take this martial art, I take this martial art. The first thing you always got to say is, why do you take it? What is your reasoning behind taking it? What are you planning on doing with it? Well, a lot of people may say exercise, self-defense, discipline, all these things. And the first thing is, whenever a martial art was created back in the day, it was, most of your martial arts are ancient, and they were created during ancient times. And it was created for those types of people to fight those types of situations, in those types of environments, on those types of terrains, with the type of body structures they had, which we know back in the day, our ancestors' body structures were that more close to animals than we are. Yeah. Nowadays our body structures are more lazy, laid back, just the way that we are. So
yeah, I can't believe how hard we have to work out on a daily basis.
Yeah, just to stay in shape. Well, no, not to stay in shape, just to not get out of shape.
Yeah.
That's hard. Just to keep from getting out of shape, you got to put in an hour or two.
Yeah.
And it's got to be intense. You can't just go in there and just be moving your feet around.
And that's with healthy eating too.
Yep. That's what. Healthy sacrificed eating.
Yeah.
No fun at all. So when through all the martial art training I was doing, and this, of course, as a sport fighter, MMA sport fighter, Muay Thai sport fighter, my main target with the martial arts has always been self-defense. Even when I chose to participate in sport martial arts, it wasn't just that I wanted to be the greatest sport fighter in the world. I wanted to be a great martial artist, and I wanted everything that I was learning to stem back to instructing people in self-defense. And so I was, of course, as a mixed martial artist, I found out that all of these different martial arts I was doing were lacking. The striking arts were lacking ground defense. The ground arts were lacking striking. The takedown and throw arts were lacking striking and ground defense. So everything was good in this area, as long as that's where the combat happened. And of course, sport fighting, I've spoken many times about this. I remember I even mentioned on, I think on my Facebook page, about how a lot of no, it wasn't my Facebook page. I think it was a write-up I did on Attack Back in response to a letter that was written by someone else on women's self-defense. And the person was speaking that most people think you have to be a great UFC fighter to be able to defend yourself. And my response was that most, UFC/MMA fighters don't even know how to use self-defense. They don't even know self-defense because it's totally different. Because for one, the things that you use in self-defense, you can't use in sport fighting.
Right.
And
they're banned.
Right. And the first thing you want to do in a self-defense situation, you want to cheat. Catch them off guard, use illegal tactics, hit them in the groin, hit them in the eye, stuff like that. So, but that's why you hear a lot of boxers and professional sport fighters getting beat up in bars because they think the bell's going to ring and it's going to be a fair match, and they catch a bottle in the back of the head. Then everybody's kicking their brains in saying, hey, I beat up this pro fighter.
Yeah.
And of course they cheated to do it. They couldn't do it face to face, man to man, but that's the difference. So, when I'm instructing people, I always have to felt that I had to be honest with them, and I didn't like that I'm teaching this sport fighting, and that's even though I love Muay Thai, love it to death, and I'm teaching people how to punch. And I'm not, come on, this and she ain't really got the power to knock a man out in a self-defense situation, and she's probably not gonna get it. He ain't got the power to knock a man out in self-defense because this, and that's the whole thing. There's men too who can't get it. So I said, I got to show them something else. Man, the eye gouge or the eye flick from karate would be a lot better. So I feel much happier with this woman who's leaving me and trusting her self-defense. I mean, to this man who's going on a business trip and entrusting his self-defense to me to say, look, man, if you just take your finger and do that, it'll put me down. And they really have something than to just tell them, Muay Thai is it, or, Judo is it, or, Jiu-Jitsu is it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? When I know personally, come on, man, when I got in situations, in bodyguard situations, stuff like that, like I said, I didn't break out and do a Muay Thai kickboxing match or a sport MMA match.
Right.
I use what works, palm strikes and hits in the throats and whatever I needed to use. So that's the whole thing. Is I made sure when I was designing Muay Thai Sprawl that this is going to be, for one, something that people of today can learn and they can use in today's situations against today's types of attackers.
So Muay Thai Sprawl, that's the system that you take your students and members through. That's what they're learning.
Yes,
okay.
That's the new system that I'm introducing, and its core is Muay Thai. That's why I call it Muay Thai Sprawl. The reason it's called Muay Thai Sprawl, I think the name always should fit. What it's about is because you watch my fight career, even my sport fighting career, and my bodyguarding career, my bouncer career. Anytime anything happened, it was the strikes that I felt were the best thing to use. Striking gives you distance. And when you're in a self-defense situation, you want distance. You don't want to be grabbing people. You don't want to be hugging people. Even I love judo. I love, wrestling. I love jiu-jitsu. I love Russian sambo. I want to make as least amount of contact with you as possible, because once we start grabbing on each other, you can slip, you can trip, anything can happen. He might have a knife. He reaches for and grab. You can't see. I lose my sight. But in a striking distance, I can always see what's happening. Plus, I can retreat.
Yeah, you can run.
Yeah, you can bail. If you're getting your butt kicked, option B, let's see how fast you are.
Yeah.
I know you can kick my butt, but can you outrun me? You know what I'm saying? You can get out of there. But it also gives you options to change your fighting position. I may be in a position, like say we're in a self-defense situation, I'm fighting with someone and they're, winning, but I can lure them with footwork to where they're standing on a patch of ice and I'm not. Or I can lure them with footwork where my back's to the sun, now the sun's in his eyes, bow, now I caught him tripping, so when you're clenched and you're holding each other, you lose this option. So striking was always what I considered to be the best and first option. And if you watch my fight career, you'll see that I always chose to knock my opponents out. Now, there's times I submitted opponents just to show that I knew ground fighting. But I said, why am I going to go to the ground with you? I want to take you out on the feet. And so I would use Muay Thai, mix a little bit of karate and taekwondo and jeet kune do in there also, some of the kicking from it. But anytime somebody tried to grab me, I would just sprawl. So that's what I was known for, was you're not going to get Jermaine Andre to the ground because he's going to sprawl, from wrestling. I mean, the sprawl from wrestling is just beautiful as far as somebody not being able to get you down.
Right.
Like I always say, you could take a judo person, expert judo player, and if he lays his hands on anybody, in any other martial art, it's game over for you. You're going to get thrown through a wall. If he's nice to throw you through a wall, he might decide to put you on the ground and use the planet Earth as his impact tool. Then you're in big trouble. But he can't do that to a wrestler, because a wrestler's base is low. He's quick moving. You know what I'm saying? He's going to sprawl. He's going every time you touch that wrestler, he's going. So that's why I mixed that blood in.
Yeah.
But I always felt that if you had your Muay Thai, power and strength and speed and endurance, and you could sprawl, then that's going to be the best core of the MMA tactic that of MMA. What do you call it? The MMA. Bill, you might have to do some editing on this one. The MMA style. Oh my goodness.
I didn't know what you were trying to say. So
you know what? You don't need to edit that. The MMA style that I created.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's why I named it Muay Thai Sprawl. Because even Ron Smith used to tell me, Jermaine, if you just got your jab, your round kick, and your sprawl, you're going to destroy everybody. Yeah. And you watch my fight. That's pretty much how I operate.
So a lot of it comes from, so you design most of it from experience from your fight career, and then what happens on the streets for self-defense.
And what happens on the streets for self-defense.
So it's both of them.
And it's mainly designed first for self-defense, but it can be used of course, in Muay Thai kickboxing, because like even the other day, my fighters were sparring, and we had a great fighter from American Top Team come over. And he was doing really good. He's putting some pressure on my boys. And I'm like, man, I'm glad this guy here. But he's an MMA guy. He was moving like an MMA guy.
Right.
So it was weird to my Muay Thai guys. Well, he pissed off one of my top guys. And the top guy got mad. And you can see it. And he flicked a Taekwondo front snap kick.
Oh.
And just missed him. I mean, I'm talking like an inch.
Wait, who threw the kick?
My guy did.
Oh, your guy did.
Yeah, my guy threw it at the guy from American Top Team. And it just missed. And it was with quick, and the guy that the American Top Team guy didn't even see, like he didn't even blink because it was too quick, and he wasn't used to that type of kick. And I said, hey, you can't throw that kick anymore. If you hit him, you're going to break his face.
Yeah.
But he used something from Taekwondo. You know what I'm saying? So that's why in Muay Thai Sprawl, even the stand-up is not just Muay Thai.
Right.
It's Taekwondo, karate, spinning. There's a lot of other things other weapons you can use that you change it up with. So that's all. But Muay Thai Sprawl, the whole idea of the creation of it was, of course, for self-defense on the streets, but it can be used for competition. But it's a really good art, and it does actually work its way up as you go through the levels where you get into actual ground fighting. Because there is I do teach my in Muay Thai Sprawl the strikers how to, if somebody gets you to the ground, how to protect yourself, how to get back to your feet.
Right.
Because that's the thing I was known for also. If you get me to the ground, I'm going to get back to my feet.
Right. I like how it's designed, too, for everyday people who, you don't have to always be a sport fighter. Because you actually, like, even if you have, let's say, a woman that comes in who doesn't want to even make it to ground fighting, she still can advance through the system and, go through it, stay a member, stay in shape, learn new technique without ever even having to go that far. So I like how you have different levels that no matter who you are, you can make it through them.
Right. And you can rank in Muay Thai Sprawl without having to do the ground fight,
right?
Which I agree with. If you ask me, do I need to know how to ground fight? Yeah, you should learn how to ground fight. In case you end up on the ground.
Especially for self-defense. Yeah.
You might get into an elevator with somebody. Or somebody attack you in the bedroom and you fall to the ground. You should know some ground fighting.
Yeah.
But I do understand that like we say, the grappling training. Some people don't want to just have to always do that.
Yeah.
And you don't have to always do that unless you're a lover.
Right.
A practitioner of grappling. Some people love grappling. Some people me, I don't. I tell you all the time, I don't like grappling, but I love grappling.
Right.
I'm a lover of jiu-jitsu and Russian sambo, but I don't want to go in every day and have to deal with everybody sweat in my mouth. You know what I'm saying? And I go in at 8 in the morning. And their toes in my face. You know what I'm saying? Because it's you get busy down there when you get tired and you going through this, things get placed all kinds of places. You get a foot on your face, you ain't even paying attention. Because as a matter of fact, we got Russian sambo techniques where the foot is right here on your shoulder.
Yeah.
I'm hugging that foot with the side of my head. So I just don't want all the zits and acne, and all this. And now if I can go shower after each one, then it'd be different. But then you'd be showering 10 times a day. So, but there are some people, that's what they do. There are guys who they go in and they grapple for 3 hours straight, and then they go home and shower and clean up. Me as the position I'm in, I have too much back and forth on and off the training floor.
Yeah.
So, and then like you say, there are some women and people who don't want all that groping and touching, so
they can learn effective ground techniques without actually having to go through grappling training.
Right. Well, at the top level of Muay Thai Sprawl, I teach you, how to fall. you do learn throws and how to stop throws,
right.
of course, because that comes with sprawling. If somebody, even for a judo player trying to hip toss you, I'll show you how to counter that. And then if you end up on the ground, I'll show you how to keep from getting stomped, and kicked around while you're on the ground. And I also show you how to protect yourself, pull guard, reverse somebody so you can get back up. So it's a very, very short amount of time that you'll spend on the ground, because one thing I don't want is a Muay Thai sprawl student of mine is getting, the crap beat out of them because they got taken to the ground.
Right.
So you're going to have to know how to keep from getting destroyed on the ground,
right.
To be top ranked. And then when you want to go above that, then we go into the actual grappling. I start showing you more jiu-jitsu, Russian sambo, wrestling, judo stuff on the ground and things like that.
Yep.
And here's an example of how I would teach you the palm strike.
The self-defense strike of Muay Thai sprawl is the palm strike. Again, like I said, my main intention when I created Muay Thai sprawl was first self-defense. Now, punching is great. It's good for sport. It's also excellent for self-defense when you get good at it. But a palm strike is something you can use immediately. It doesn't even require a good stance. A palm strike can be thrown from standing. It can be thrown from a sitting position. It can even be thrown from laying on the ground. All right, so the first thing about a palm strike is to learn how to hold your hand. Now, the hand for a palm strike, when I throw mine, you'll see in my classes, my hand is actually open. But that's because I'm really good at throwing it. I know how to keep my fingers where they need to be. But as a beginner, if you're a beginner, you want to tuck those fingers right here and tuck that thumb. And what it does, it gives you a good striking surface right here that leads right up that arm, give you a good strong hit. Hit just like that with that boom, boom, just like that. And like I said, it can work from a stance. I'm here, I'm on bob here, all right? I can hit it, aiming for that nose, aiming for the chin, just like that. From a stance for a power strike, I can use my lead hand for a quick strike, like the jab hand, okay? I can even be from a standing still right here, and hit them. From the side right here, I can hit, okay? Hitting with that heel of the palm right there. And that's your palm strike coming from karate and kung fu.
Now, you can hear that. That sounds pretty rough. Who's I hitting?
I don't know.
I wasn't hitting anybody. I was hitting the dummy. I was hitting Bob.
Oh, probably.
Bob. If you want to take a look at that and see, how effective that palm strike is, go to attack-back.com. And you can, we got a ton of stuff on there you can check out. But that'll give you an idea of some Muay Thai sprawl. And I think, I'm not sure, but I think, I got a business partner who's actually putting my Muay Thai sprawl stuff out there for free through attack-back.com.
That'd be fun.
So I think you can go there and you can opt in is a word they always throw. If you opt in, then he gives you all kinds of free, he's got like the actual downloads of the books that I created. And he'll send you free pages from the book with free lessons, and there's free videos and everything on there.
Yeah.
So you can get a good taste of this art that I actually created for today's people in today's environment to fight against today's attackers.
Yep, and I love that palm strike. That's one of my favorite techniques.
Man, I love it. I mean,
I can train somebody for 45 minutes in it.
Yeah, and there's so much you can do with it. Like I can do a 3-hour class with the palm strike.
Yep.
It's such a good technique, and that's not that's a karate and kung fu technique. And that's why you have to respect all of the arts.
Yep.
And that's one of the things that happens that you see happen a lot. Everybody's trying to disrespect the arts. Like. When MMA came, well, first of all the arts were disrespecting each other.
Yeah.
Mine's better than yours. Mine's better, and then when MMA came out, the sport MMA fighters started disrespecting the traditional fighters, but every martial art, a great martial artist will realize that every martial art has something to offer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, let's
move on to the book, Dealing Effectively with Idiots. All right, so the one that was chosen was The Hater, which is perfect, like you said, because it fits into our topic today.
What we promised to talk about.
All right, the idiot's objective: to bring you down from your pedestal of success by attacking your self-confidence and creating an entourage that will follows him against you. I can't ever read. Counter technique: ignore the hater and never respond to his or her actions. Answering to him will only make him important in your life and cause others to listen to him. Allow your haters to yell, curse, and swear blindly into the wind, where no one listens or cares about what he or she thinks. Eventually, his cries will be recognized to people of intelligence as the babbling complaints of a spoiled child. Furthermore, anyone who follows the lead of a hater is just as worthless as the hater, and you wouldn't want them in your entourage anyway.
Well, that kind of almost ruined what I'm planning on talking about. It almost covered everything.
Yeah. It sums it up. It doesn't.
Yeah, it does.
It doesn't explain it all.
Okay, well, then, what I'll do is instead of elaborating on that, because what happens is I'll start dipping into what I'm planning on talking about, and it'll just smear everything around.
Let's get right to it.
Get right to it. All right. What is a hater? Like it kind of said in there, a hater is somebody who's trying to discredit or harm your reputation due to jealousy. That's usually what a hater is. We know a lot of people get mixed up on what on our definitions of what something is, and then next thing you know is out there wild and crazy. It's kind of like what do you call it? My boo.
Yeah.
No, not my boo, shorty. I'll never forget when the word shorty came out. I'm just gonna give an example. I thought it was perfect for your kid. First, your shorty was your kid, okay, and then it went from your kid
to your girl.
No. Before that, it went to from your kid to a short dude.
Oh.
It was shorty over there, yo. It was like dudes would talk about it. It was okay. Shorty was an okay name. It was, because men who were short were proud to be short.
Right.
So you was called a shorty. Yeah. So it was like, okay. Then it went to men calling a women they shorty. I said, well, wait a minute, there's women out there who are taller than they man. And then it went from women calling a men they short.
Yeah.
So it's just like, all this confusion happens with words because people are just so desperate to create something new.
Yeah.
So I think hater, even what a hater is, has been tainted and smeared.
Yeah.
Where even like say, there are even a lot of people who think they have haters.
Yeah.
And they think saying they have a hater makes them popular. Or makes it seem like they accomplish something when they have it.
Right. Yeah. If you're a jerk and you have people that don't like you,
that's not a hater.
That's not a hater.
That's not that's like you said, there's people out there who run around and they just, I'm sorry, excuse me, but you suck.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's why people don't like you, because you're not a good person, or you're not a nice person,
right.
or whatever you're claiming to be is bullcrap.
Right.
So those aren't haters. Those are people who you can't bullcrap. They know that you're fake. They know that you're fraud. So we have to make sure that a person who's a hater is somebody who is jealous towards you, and they're trying to act out and trying to bring you down, discredit you, make you look bad, or something like that. So
right.
that's the first thing is knowing what the definition of a hater is. Now, you got to ask who can be a hater. A hater could be somebody you don't know. A hater can be somebody you do know. It can be a family member. It can be a friend.
Coworker.
A coworker. It could be your boss.
Yep.
It could be somebody who works for you. And one of the main things about a hater is like a hater anybody can become a hater towards you. So it doesn't always have to be, it's not always going to be specifically this person. Like you could just imagine right now if, you became a multimillionaire today, boom. There's going to be a lot of people turning the haters on you. Well, you don't deserve it. Well, I didn't get, what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it can always be anybody. So when I'm talking about dealing with haters, like I said, I think at the beginning of the podcast, a hater can be dangerous because they can bring you down, and some of them can go to the point of coming after and hurting you.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of celebrities you hear about that they get these stalkers and stuff, and people who come after and hurt them.
Yeah.
So it still is thinking in the idea of self-defense, but the main power that a hater has is that they can turn you.
Yeah.
And then get you going in the wrong direction and focusing on them and make you do something stupid to make what they say about you true.
Yeah, because a hater doesn't, it's not always necessarily somebody who's very obvious about what they're doing. A lot of times they're very hidden too. A lot of times they do things, just to make you feel bad about what you're doing, to turn you in a different direction too.
That's really true. Yeah, you can as haters, you can have a hater that's sneaky.
Yeah, those are the dangerous ones.
Yeah, most of them are. They'll like you say, they'll create a fake profile or something on the internet, social network, and try and make attacks at you through there. They'll sabotage you. Things that you don't know about. They'll talk bad about you behind your back, and you won't be able to identify them.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's true. So there's all kind of haters you got to look out for. How can you identify if you have true haters? You have to. First, you have to have accomplished something. Like we were just saying, a lot of people think they have haters. Now it's becoming a fad to claim to have haters.
Yeah.
I love my haters. I got all these haters. That means I'm the greatest.
Right.
No, you're not. You're not the greatest just because you're claiming to have haters. You know what I'm saying? Or just because you got people that don't like you. You have to have something there that you've accomplished. And it doesn't have to be anything like when I say you accomplish something. It doesn't have to be that you put out a new album.
Right, it doesn't have to be so high end.
Yeah, you don't have to be a celebrity.
Right.
You could be like, I know one of the things we talk about is people who turn their lives around
who try
and
to
try to
move
better
forward.
their life. Because when you try to better your life, you misery loves company. So when you start turning yourself and bettering your life, you're probably leaving a certain group of people.
Yeah.
And when you leave that certain group, there are going to be people who take offense to that.
Yep.
And now you think you're better than me. You know, we deal with that all the time in the fitness world.
Yeah.
You know, what I have to tell students that, look, as you're getting in shape and bettering yourself, there are going to be people who used to be your friend because, you know, you had things in common, which was being out of shape, smoking cigarettes, drinking beer, eating cupcakes, you know, all the time, whatever it was that you guys did together. There's absolutely nothing wrong with smoking cigarettes, drinking beer. Nothing wrong with eating cupcakes as long as you work out. But then what happens is when you step away from that world and you're saying, I don't do this anymore, then they get offended.
Right.
You know, well, wait a minute. You know, and this is supposed to be your friend. Now you can't really hang out anymore, you know, because you're not doing the same. You don't have the same interests.
Yeah.
So that can flip on them. And then that can turn them into haters who will try to make you feel bad about what you're doing or try to make you appear as if you think you're better than them.
Yeah, that's tough.
You know, so that's you know, when I say identifying if you have haters, that's one of the things you have to know is you have to have something that you're probably accomplishing. And if you keep hearing the same stories from people, you know, about something about you that sounds bad, you know, and you keep hearing it from different people, then you got a hater out there working against you. You know, so that's another way to identify also. Now, one of the most important things we have to be able to assure that we're not a hater.
Yeah.
Because that's something that we don't look at and say, everybody wants to point the finger, oh, you're a hater, he's a hater, she's a hater. You know, I got all these haters, but sometimes we don't realize that we may be the hater. You know, who while we're wearing this cap, talking about haters and a shirt, talking about haters and put on our Facebook page all over, that we got all these haters. And honestly, we're the one that's being the hater. And a way that we can identify that we're a hater is if we're feeling jealousy towards people. And feeling jealousy, everybody can feel or be envious towards somebody's accomplishment. That can happen, you know, but what you have to do is you have to admit to it that you feel that way and then don't react out of it.
Yeah.
You know, and I use, because even, like I said, even me, you know, I'll be envious if, you know, another martial arts school is doing better than mine and stuff, and I should be. That's competition for me. You know, when I was fighting, I'd be envious if, you know, this fighter's getting more credit than I am. I should be. But I use that for motivation to better myself instead of trying to discredit him or discredit this person or discredit that. You know, so if you use it in a positive way, then you're not going to be a hater.
Yeah.
Use it to motivate yourself. Use it to get out there and do, just like, you know, if somebody's getting in shape around you and it's making you feel bad about yourself, don't try to put down what they're doing and make them feel bad.
Yeah.
If it makes you feel bad, then go take care of yourself. Go get yourself in shape. And then next thing you know, you're going to be in better shape than them.
Yeah.
And then they're going to be jealous of you. And they might turn to your hater. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I said, jealousy is an emotion we all have, we all feel. You know, but it's how we respond to it that regulates whether we're a hater or not. So if you respond correctly to it and use it to motivate yourself, then you're not being a hater. But next is ways to deal with haters. The first thing you got to do is you got to be able to identify who your haters are. You know, try to find out who they are. Try to, you know, put them in a spot where you can always know, where you can know what they're up to.
Right.
Because, like I said, a hater can hurt you, you know, if you're not careful. They can ruin your reputation. They can bring you down, you know, because if you're out there, you're trying to accomplish something, you're trying to get people to follow you, you know, the more followers you have, of course, the better that is.
Yeah.
But we're going to get into that about the types of followers you have, too, which is something that, you know, that I believe in. You got to be careful of who you got following you also. But if you identify your haters, and then the first step is to ignore them. Because when you ignore them, that kind of shuts down their power.
What if they're your friends, though? I think a lot of people are blinded by haters that are their friends or the people that they're surrounded by in their everyday life. So sometimes you kind of miss it. I think we deal with that a lot with a lot of our people that we're surrounded by at the gym and stuff that are trying to move forward. And a lot of their friends won't move forward with them. But they still don't see it, I think. So I think, how do you identify it when they're around you every day?
Well, you got this is the thing. If they're a hater, they're not a friend.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's what you have to realize. So we all have to, sometimes we have to make sure that we're not being needy. And sometimes people are being needy by keeping of somebody who's a hater around them and call them their friend.
Yeah.
You know if somebody's treating you wrong. and somebody's not treating you the way that they should be treating you.
Yeah.
But sometimes we feel that we got to keep that person around, or we feel that we owe that person, or we're afraid to get them out of the picture, because they get us in places or do things for us, and we're getting something from them. So if they're a hater, that's not your friend. So that's the whole thing. Once you identify, and that goes with identify, if they're, putting you down and putting down the good stuff that you're doing and making you feel bad about the positive thing that you're doing, then that's a hater. You know what I'm saying? So the other thing is that goes to, ignoring them, that diffuses their power. I'll never forget, I had a hater that was on the internet about me.
No, you had a hater?
Not just one. I've got tons of them, but and that's why we'll get to how you employ. But this dude he just got, and he was actually an ex-student who did horrible in MMA training. MMA first came popular. Everybody wanted to be an MMA fighter. And they come to me and say, I want to be a fighter. And it's like, dude, I just reached for this pencil and you hid in the corner. You're not a fighter.
Right.
You can't, just because you saw it on TV and I opened a school here and I can show you how to punch a pad, does not mean you can be in combat.
Right.
So, this dude was super soft. Like, you couldn't even touch him without him, cringing up. So, I guess he felt that I didn't make him a fighter. So he went on a little internet spree to try and, hate on me. And he was clowning. It was entertaining. I was loving it. I'm sorry.
Right, sure.
I was reading it and everything. Well, maybe I'll pull it up one day and we'll go through it all. But I think he may have taken everything down now. But, people were like, oh, my friend, oh my God, you going to, I'm like, why would I respond to this clown?
Yeah.
To make him a star? Mm-hmm. Once I respond to him, that brings him up to my level. So if I'm going to respond to him, it's because we're in business together.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, but he was clowning so hard. I was like, I need to hire this dude, man. He promoted me better than anybody, So that's the whole thing. So when you ignore him, and then what eventually happened, he smothered out, because anybody who was listening to him, they got tired, what your man ain't responding.
Yeah, they know better.
Yeah. Well, I'll never forget. I know, I think it was KRS-One, who was actually one of my favorite rappers from back in the 80s. And I think he was trying to start a battle with Nelly. And he was talking about Nelly and going on his thing on the radio and stuff. And somebody asked Nelly about KRS-One's thing. And Nelly said, "Who is that?"
Yeah,
and that killed it. Mm-hmm. Now if Nelly would have said, "Oh, that mother," he would have brought KRS way up to his level.
Yeah, yep.
But he did that and he killed it. And another person that did that, used that strategy too, was Floyd Mayweather.
Just happened. Oh yeah, it did.
Floyd Mayweather used it. He used
Ronda.
it on against Ronda, and when they were talking about Ronda Rousey fighting him, and he said, "Who is she? who is this?"
Right.
Then he said, "Who is Dana?" Dana, he was talking about Dana White, which Dana White's a buddy of mine, so I'm not putting my boy Dana down.
Right.
But he said, "Who the heck is that?" I make $100 million. You know what I'm saying? And he started talking about, but what they did, that just that killed it.
Yeah.
Now, if he'd responded to that and even said, "Man, I'll knock Ronda Rousey out," then boom, that opens that door.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's the strategy. The first strategy you want to use is you have to ignore them. Now, outside of that, remember, a hater is still somebody who might be on a mission. So you still want to monitor them.
Yeah.
You want when you identify your hater, you ignore them, you want to monitor them. Pay attention to what they're doing. Pay attention to what they're saying. Watch out. You never know if they're going to get so, obsessed with hating you that they might run up behind you with a weapon. That can happen.
Yeah.
So I always, whenever I got a hater, and I think I have them, they're monitored very closely. You get a security team on them, or, monitor them through Facebook, but just pay attention to what they're doing. Watch out for them, stuff like that. But that's the ways that you want to deal with your haters.
So I think there's a certain situation with somebody that we know, and it's just one of those situations that you just sometimes don't even know how to deal with it, But she's a girl who trains really hard. She works out, and she is, like you were saying at the beginning, she's one of these type of people who is trying to move forward and do better in her life, but everyone around her is not necessarily doing it. And she has to go to work every day and deal with everybody around her not encouraging and supporting her. And they show up all the time and they shove cake in her face and donuts in her face. And, they're not encouraging. And they know what she's doing. They know that she's on diets and that she's going on this lifestyle. So, what would you do in a situation like that?
Well, the first thing, I want to find out where this individual works so I can go there and she won't have to worry about anything.
Maybe she needs to just
I'm going to be eating. I eat everything in there, and then I'm going to show her how to run on the track with me for 10 miles to burn it off. Well, it's, that's like I said, that goes back to the whole situation of when you're surrounded by your common crew, you have something in common, and the reason you guys get along is because you have the same, the same interests,
right,
the same behavior patterns. And when one of the flock chooses to leave and saying that these behavior patterns are bad, what are you saying about the people who stayed in there?
Yeah.
So they feel insulted. You know what I'm saying? So that's a really hard one. It's a hard one for both sides unless they start moving in that person's direction.
Right.
Now, I do have a strategy to handle that and deal with that, because like I said, that can be hard where this individual, if you have to keep seeing these people, like I would say, okay, if you're in this situation with these people and it's bad for your health and your life and you're trying to step away, I'm gonna say step away.
Yeah.
You have to change friends. It's no different than if you were a bad kid and you were getting in trouble all the time and you go to juvenile detention and you get out. You can't go hang out with the same friends.
Yeah, well,
you're
this situation
go back
is
to
not
juvenile.
friends; it's a boss and it's coworkers.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And that's what I'm saying. She can't leave.
Yeah,
she's stuck there. You know what I'm saying? So she's stuck in a situation where I know a lot of our clients that are stuck in those types of situations. A lot of people in the world who are stuck in those types of situations. But as of now, I do have a strategy for that. And I can't give it over the air because you never know who's listening.
Yeah.
So, but I am going to work with this individual and give this strategy on how she can handle that type of situation and still stay comfortable in a position that she's stuck in, that she's forced in, but at the same time improve her health.
Right.
Without it affecting her the lifestyle that she has to live. So I do have strategies like that. That's when I have to start really thinking and personalizing things for people. And this individual is going to get there. So it's kind of like that too with the listeners out there. If you got a situation that's complicated and you're wondering how to deal with it, you can always hit me on Facebook, message me personally, and I can give you some ideas and some thoughts on what you could do to help straighten it out. So yeah, that's a hard one there.
It is.
When people get stuck in those types of positions.
She needs to go to the accounting department and check with the accounting lady how much he's spending on snackies every day and tell him where he can put that money towards.
Yeah, exactly. The boss.
How about a gym membership for everybody?
There you go. Or go buy some good stuff, something like that, and send all the other stuff to me.
Hopefully that wasn't one of your strategies.
No, it actually is not. All right. Okay, now get into the most important part here is putting your haters to work. That's something that you don't hear about nowadays. Everybody, main thing is they just kind of go into themselves or bragging about having haters, or, some people have enough intelligence to ignore their haters. But I'm going to actually tell you how you can put your haters to work. Well, the good thing about a hater, believe it or not, there are good things, is a hater can find your flaws and your weaknesses. Which I always tell you, that's the main thing we want to do with ourselves, is that we want to find out about ourselves, even when it comes to self-defense, and bettering ourselves is our weaknesses and our flaws. So a hater, if you got a good hater, he's really digging, or she's really digging to find solid bad things on you.
Yeah.
So when they find, that's the one thing that they can do for you, is that saves you the trouble. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, even like, let's say you're a fighter and, you're a competitor and you're out there fighting, you're doing your thing, and everybody wants to hear great things about themselves. That's a part of us building our confidence, which is exactly opposite of the old samurai code, which is what I went by. In the samurai code, you want to be criticized. Yeah. Because that's the way you improve yourself. No samurai was interested in hearing about how great he did. He wanted to hear about what he did wrong.
Right.
And like my fight career, the first thing I would ask Ron Smith when I walked out was, what did I do wrong? And, they even surprised him because he never even heard that before. So the whole thing is, when you've got a hater who's trying to find all your flaws, he's helping you out. So here you are, you this fighter, like I'm saying, but going back to examples fighting, you've been there banging, and then somebody who hates you, he always drops his jab. He's got the slowest feet in the world. It's like, thanks. I need to work on my jab and speed my feet up. You know what I'm saying? Because they really watching. They hate you so much. I want to find what's wrong with this food, and I'm going to point it out to everybody. So that's the first thing a hater can do for you, is he can go to work for you and research you and find where you're weak at and point it out to you. You know what I'm saying? So that
is a good point. Most people always ask you, how did I look? Like, how did I look, and what's everything good I did in training, and not what is it that I need work on? So that makes sense. I never thought about it that way. Yeah. So that's one of the good things that a hater can do for you. Yep. The second good thing that a hater does. What's so funny? I cut you off. I could tell when I cut you off, and you.
Oh, as long as you got something good to say, you can cut me off all you want. But anyway, the second thing that a good hater can do for you is they bring attention to you.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? There's an old saying, Hollywood saying that I don't remember how that saying goes. There is no such thing as bad exposure.
Yeah.
You know, any kind of exposure is good exposure. The worst thing in the world is for people not to be talking about you. And I agree 100,000% about that. You know, if you're trying to be known for something, like say in entertainment world, anything like that, and you're not getting talked about, you know, that's
usually when the scandals come out.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Well, because the truth of the matter, what do people want to hear? They want to hear bad stuff.
The bad stuff.
They don't want to hear about you getting straight A's and getting a college degree.
Yeah.
They want to hear about you crashing your car drunk and almost killing 2 kids and then jumping out the car and saying a racist slur to the 5 people who are walking down the street. Yeah. Now you got a headline. You know what I'm saying? So the truth of the matter is, a hater, they start bringing attention to you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So they're doing part of your marketing for you, because the whole idea of marketing is, first of all, I need attention. So here's this hater out here working for free for you. You ain't paying them nothing. And they put their heart and soul into making sure that you get attention.
Yeah.
You know, so that's another way that the hater is going to work for you. Now, one of the things that I like about, the main thing that I like about haters is they separate people from me. Like I was saying about certain types of attention. Of course, you know, I've seen different types of attention, because as a fighter, I've had bloodthirsty fans, and I didn't like that. I'm not interested in those type of people who want to be around me. You know, the way that they think, the way that they feel, you know, somebody who just wants to see another human get hurt. You know, that's not why I fought. I fought to display the skills of the martial arts, not to just hurt my opponent. I didn't want to go in there with a baseball bat and smash somebody's brains out. But there's a lot of people in the audience who want to see that. So when you win and you get a good knockout or something like that, you get these fans coming at you who probably are, you know, eating cat heads in their basement. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want that kind of attention. But what happens with a hater can separate the good people from the bad people for you. It's like, for instance, if my hater's out there putting a bad word out about me, okay, and somebody who has no idea who I am, they give this word to this person. This person is going to do one or two things. You know, first of all, if the person didn't know who I was, he just introduced who I was to him. So now this person, he just gave me some exposure. And then beyond that, what happens is this person is going to do one or two things. Either they're going to listen to the hater and not deal with me, which if that's how they are, that's perfect. I don't want to deal with a person like that anyway. They can be that easily influenced, because all that's going to happen is you're going to get them in your camp or get them around you, make them your friend. And as soon as somebody else turned against you, they're going to go with that person. Right. So the hater has just already put the work in. Basically, they're interviewing people for you, you know, by talking bad about you. Now, if it's an intelligent individual, they're going to say, well, who's this person that this person talking bad about? Then they're going to research you. Right. And then when they research me, oh my God, they're going to see, you know, oh, wow, this is no way in the world. He must be so here's this hater sitting at the front door for me, interviewing people, you know what I'm saying? And separating bad, good, just by helping them to make that choice. So that's where your haters can work for you. You know what I'm saying? If you're out there and they're talking bad about you, the people who follow you, you know, even if we want to go into high school, you know, or junior high school, you know, you got this hater running around talking bad about you, and to people who don't know you, the people who team up with that hater, the hater just saved you a whole bunch of trouble filtering friends, because you didn't want those clowns anyway, because they're easily influenced and they're idiots. So he's pulling all the idiots in his camp. You know what I'm saying? Instead of them getting poisoned, and then instead of them coming in and poisoning yours. So I mean, I think haters should be paid like $200,000 a year for this type of work. You know, so I'm sitting back like, yeah, keep working, guys, keep working. So that's one of the other ways that.
Wow, your way of thinking.
Hey, I'm just looking at the reality of it, you know. So that's a good way. They separate the idiots for you, you know. And one of the main things that a hater does, and this is where I kind of like. I really applaud haters, and I need to hand out hater awards, the Hater of the Year award. You know what I'm saying? Something like that. And if this wouldn't be,
hey, that'd probably get really popular. So.
I know it would. Somebody finna steal my idea. Watch, everybody, watch. What's the date today? Today is
25th.
June 25th, 2015. Jermaine Andre is the first one to say the Hater Award. All right, because I'm tired. My stuff gets stolen all the time. Oh my goodness, I'm so tired of my stuff getting stolen. And we didn't, before we had the podcast, stuff was getting stolen.
It was.
And so I'm stating today the Hater Award. So when y'all see that come out, you know somebody stole my idea, and I want to get paid. Just like, what's his name? Every time he said you're fired, you had to pay him.
Donald Trump.
That's right. I'm Jermaine Trump. I want to get paid for the Hater Award. But this is one that I really, really like haters for, and that is they keep you on your toes.
Yeah.
When you got haters out there and you read something or hear something, what does it make you do? You get alert. You start paying attention. You start paying attention to what you're doing. You start trying to do better. You start trying to better. You try trying to beat whatever it is that they're saying. So they're actually your motivator.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I think I've seen T-shirts like say my haters motivate me or something. Hater motivate.
I think it's usually I love my haters.
Yeah, but I seen one that say my haters motivate. That was a good one I seen now. I was like, that's a good, somebody's thinking now.
Yeah, you probably said it and somebody made a
You
T-shirt.
know what? That's probably true. We should have dated that too. Somebody made a T-shirt out of it. So that's another good way is a good thing about haters and a way to put them to work for you and imagine, see that they're working for you is even when you hear something you don't like, you see something that you don't like, it puts you on alert. Which like I've spoken before about when we're afraid, when we're, anything like that, our eyes widen, we start to pay attention to what's going on around us. So if you look at it like that, then you can make things work more positive for you. And that's the whole idea of what I'm trying to say is that, we all going to have haters. Anytime you start accomplishing something, anything in your life, and there's people near you, we always going to have somebody who gets jealous. We always going to have a potential hater. So looking at things in this way that I wrote it up, helps you, for one, not to bring them up as a star by responding to it. That's the one thing you don't want to do is respond inappropriately to a hater. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, it's, I get a lot of kids. I know I had a couple of kids dealing with, asking me questions about haters. This person keeps saying this. I'm getting tired of it. I'm going to hit her. I say, look, if you were at Walmart and you saw me pull up in my truck, my MMA truck, and I jumped out, you're like, hey, Master Chief, and you wave across the highway, and then another car pull up next to mine, two dudes jump out and say, Jermaine Andre sucks, I can't stand him. And I, what? You mother... And I went over and beat them up. I said, how stupid would that look to you? They said, that would look... I said, exactly. What would you expect me to do when they did that? I said, because now when I beat them up, the school closes, I'm no longer your instructor, I go to jail. Does that make sense to you? And wow, it does. Your life is the exact same way.
Yeah.
So, you're dealing with the same issue. Just because you don't have a beat-down truck, I can say just because I'm not a billionaire like Donald Trump, you know what I'm saying? So it's still the same thing.
Yeah.
But
sounds like a personal experience, Jermaine.
What was that?
Your scenario you just went through.
No, I don't think I ever had anybody yell it out to me. I remember we were walking one time, one of my fighters, some clown yelled it over the rail, but I don't think anybody ever yelled it to. Everything with me has always been done secretly and quietly. Yeah. But I've got that background where they think I might put on a ninja suit and come after them. So you'd be pretty stupid to say something face to face to me as a hater, But because what we say, usually what happens with somebody like me that I've seen happen is people go on and create fake profiles and try to weasel in to my Facebook page, then try to start.
Well, they know you're waiting for something to happen.
What's that?
I said they all know you're waiting for something to happen.
Well, yeah, but don't say that because then they'll never try anything. You say it all the time. Yeah, but that's what there are some ideas, on, how you can look at dealing with haters differently, how you can employ your haters, and look at the fact that they may be helping you instead of hurting you. Because once you let them get a grip on your brain that they're hurting you and you feel that they're destroying your life, then they are. Yeah. And like I said, if you bring them up and you start responding to them and you start giving them a name and a face, then everybody's going to start paying attention to them. So the best thing is to ignore them and just let them kind of go to work for you.
Fade off, yep.
So,
all right. Good stuff.
All right, so everybody remember, too, check us out on iTunes, Stitcher. We need those reviews. Give us reviews.
Yes.
Yep. Any questions.
Yep.
Don't be shy to ask. We can talk about anything. And we're about to start bringing some special guests on also. So anybody you think that you'd like to hear me interview, don't be surprised that you won't be surprised who we can get on this show. Yeah. So start dropping the names. Hit me on my Facebook page if you want to have a more interaction with me. We always talking about crazy stuff on. I'm always asking crazy questions. We get a lot of long threads and responses from people. So just be sure to hit us up. And not only on my Facebook page, remember too, my personal Facebook page, you're going to see videos, and on my Attack Back video page at attack-back.com. We're putting tons of videos out. I even got my self-defense videos. You can learn stuff. I'm finding modern things that you need to know. I know Rebecca and I just did one on car keys,
yep.
How to use your car keys for self-defense. And my daughter Caitlin just did one on the palm strike for teen girls. So feel free to go and get this free information for free on these websites. All right. Well, until next time, everybody stay safe out there, stay prepared, stay aware, be ready to defend yourself at all times. Rebecca Beck and I checking out.
Bye.
For all things Jermaine Andre, get books, get trained. Learn the secrets behind his brawn, his brain, and his edge. Visit JermaineAndre.com. Life Fight with Jermaine Andre is another positive production of RareGem Productions. Thanks for listening.